Dobar vam dan i dobrodošli. Kaže Nikola polako, ali dobro, mogu ja i malo brže. Drago mi je da sam opet s vama ove godine i drago mi je da vas vidim u ovolikom broju, kako bi Tomo Ricov rekao full house. To me uopće zapravo ne čudi jer vjerujem da većina vas poznaje našeg današnjeg predavača, da ga je slušala proteklih godina na Weekend Media Festival. On je Pete Radović, ali evo samo ukratko za one koji su možda prvi put ovdje i koji ne znaju tko je on. On je kreativni direktor CBS-a, on je dobitnik 36 Emija koje drži u kutijama u podrumu, kako mi je sam rekao, vjerojatno ih čovjek nema gdje staviti. Dobitnik je ove godine 5 lavova u Kanu, 4 Emmy nagrade i 4 Clio nagrade. On je producent i redatelj mnogobrojnih reklama i spotova koje su se emitirale u polufinalu i finalu Superbola. Brojne filmove snimio, jedan od njih je Barakude o hrvatskim vaterpolistima, ali o svemu tome više će vam reći on. No danas je ovdje kako bi nam ispričao jednu priču. Naime, kvalitetna, dobra pripovjedanja stvaraju emocionalnu povezanost s publikom, te su temelj za gotovo sve što radimo u medijima. Pripovjedanje je postalo osnovna obavezna vještina. No što čini priču neodoljivom? Što čini nekoga dobrim pripovjedačem? I kako zaokupiti publiku s pričom koja je već nebrojeno puta ispričana? Sve su to bili izazovi s kojima se Pete Radović, kreativni direktor CBS-a, morao suočiti u siječnju ove godine, za koju kaže da mu je najuspješnija ikad, kada su ga zamolili da producira i režira reklamu za jedan od najgledanijih programa na američkoj televiziji. Uspio osigurati nagrađivanog glumca Johna Malkovića za glavnu ulogu, no glavni problem je bio kako ispričati priču o utakmici u kojoj cijela zemlja već i onako bruji. Što donijeti novo? Rezultat je bio film Teasing John Malkovich, kritički priznati 4-minutni video koji je postao viralan hit na internetu u samo nekoliko sati od početka emitiranja, te je osvojio neke od najprestižnijih nagrada u svijetu marketinga i komunikacije, kao što sam rekla, 5 lavova u Kanu, 4 Emmy nagrade i 4 Clio nagrade. Danas će Pete Radović s nama podijeliti tehnike pripovjedanja, ali i filozofije koje su temelj njegove uspješne američke televizijske karijere. Koristit će primjere iz svojih nekoliko nagrađivanih spotova kako bi demonstrirao svoju strategiju, uključujući i Teasing John Malkovich. Dodatno, Radović će podijeliti isječak iz svojeg posljednjeg kratkog filma, kojeg je režirao za Facebook Watch, a koji ističe nevjerojatan uspjeh košarkaša iz bivše Jugoslavije u NBA-u. Bilo da se radi o televiziji, mobitelima, webu, potražnja za video sadržajima je trenutno na najvišem nivou. I više nego ikada postoji mogućnost da oglašivači, redatelji i tvrtke iskoriste tu privlačnu priču kako bi utjecali na svoju publiku i potrošače. Kako ćete vi iskoristiti moć pripovjedanja na svom sljedećem projektu? Možda vam Pete Radović pomogne. Pete Radović!
Hvala. Evo, samo sekund. Je mogu na engleskom? Engleski mi je super. Može, hajde. All right, so I'm going to start talking about storytelling. Iako znam hrvatski malo pričati, ipak ću na englesku ako vam ne smeta. Storytelling is at the core of everything that we do in media. I'm assuming people are here from advertising, from marketing. I'm assuming people are here from television, journalists. Everybody here is here to make money. We're all in business on some level. And to reach the consumer, to reach the viewer, to reach the reader, we have to be able to tell stories. And the biggest thing that I've learned over the years is it's not that easy. Everybody has the ability to tell a story. Everybody in this room tells stories. Everybody in this room has a friend who's terrible at telling stories. They start to tell you a story, then they go on a tangent, then they start talking about something else, and then after a couple of seconds, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, tell me the story. So even though we all know what the basic principles are, we still sometimes have a problem getting to the core of the story. And I think that's one of the things I'll talk about. Another thing I'll talk about, if you're not in television, this isn't only about television. This is going to be about business. This is going to be about marketing. This is going to be about the new way that business is doing business. And it's very untraditional, and I love it. I personally love the direction everything is going in. It's going back to basics. It's going back to the core. So the biggest thing for me is that there needs to be an emotional investment. the person that you're trying to reach, the people that you're trying to reach, why should they care? That's the number one thing, make them care. So the biggest challenge for me is when we're telling the story about, let's say I work in sports primarily, not only sports, but primarily in sports because that's our most viewed programming on CBS, so they want me there. A lot of the times, as Nevin mentioned, the games are already being talked about. So I'm going to get to Malkovich piece soon, but first I want to show another piece that was in the last year that did really well, but nobody talks about it because of the Malkovich piece. And that is the Army-Navy game. And I'll explain it to you guys very simply. Give me a second. So the Army-Navy game is a football game in America every year. It's a college football game. So the people playing in the game are college students. They're not getting paid. They're not professionals. Who wants to watch college kids play a sport? Millions of people want to watch college kids play a sport. It's big business in America. It's not as big as professional football, but it's not far below. And every week, every Saturday, there are games being played all over the country. Millions of people are watching on TV. Stadiums are filled with 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 people. A lot of the games are being played by very good players. Florida, Alabama, Ohio State. These are players that are going to be professionals in about a year or two. So you're watching the best while they're still young. Now, we have a game on CBS called the Army-Navy game. If Alabama, Ohio State, and Florida here, Army and Navy, as far as quality of football, are here. Okay, so now none of these guys are going to be professional football players, not one of them. The quality of play is, it's okay. It's not great. So now how do you get people to watch? So you need to find, what's the story I want to tell? I have 4 minutes to create a commercial, a viral, hopefully viral, a spot that will live digitally, a spot that will air before the game starts. How do I reach the audience? How do I make them care? So Army, Navy. Army is West Point. Okay, you've all heard of, I'm sure, West Point. That's where the United States military officers start. Navy is the United States Naval Academy down in Maryland. They play once a year. It's been going on for over 100 years. Back before professional football was big in America in the 50s, 60s, this was the Super Bowl. Now it's no longer that important because kids don't want to go there anymore. Why don't kids want to go to West Point? Why don't kids want to go to Navy? Well, a lot of kids do, but most of the best players don't, because after you graduate 4 years, and by the way, those 4 years that you're at West Point and Annapolis in Navy, your summers are gone. You're training. During weekends, during school, you can't go home. You're training. For the next 4 years, as an 18-year-old, you have to make a decision. Do I want to commit the next 4 years of my life to the United States Military Academy or Navy and give up all my social life, give up my summers, and do this? Oh, and by the way, when you graduate, 5 years mandatory military service. So now I'm an 18-year-old. Do I want to go to Florida University and play football, where I can hang out, be a star, after 4 years, get a job and live my life, or go to Annapolis, or go to West Point? So these are the players that are playing in this game. They have made a commitment because they believe in their country, they believe in service, they believe in giving back. And by the way, Navy and West Point, from an academic standpoint, almost on par with Harvard, Stanford, very, very difficult to get into. So there you go. That's the story of these kids who have, for over 100 years, have had to make a decision that I want to go to West Point, I want to go to Navy. Now, the parents know when they go to these schools what this means. It means 4 years, but it also means 5 years of military service. And we're Americans, we're always at war with someone, so that means inevitably you're going to be in a war somewhere. So that's the story we decided to tell. We went out, we hired actors, this was what we decided to do. It was an idea, and we executed it. I'm very proud of it, so I'm going to show that first, and then I'll come back and talk about it. Go ahead, you can roll it.
From the very beginning, it's always started the same way. every one of them. Across generations, across eras, across history. Over more than a century, they've all waited to get the same word. To get word that they've been chosen. Chosen to sacrifice.
Are you kidding me?
To dedicate.
There's a letter.
To serve.
Dear Mr. Elliott.
Dear Mr. E.
Dear Mr. Holden.
You've been selected for a mission.
And authorized to report to the United States Naval Academy.
United States Military Academy.
9th of July, 1960,
1921
On
before
12
10 a.m.
July 2001.
Annapolis, Maryland.
West Point, New York. So proud of you, son.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah.
You hear that? Boy's gonna be an officer in the United States Army.
Only they know what it feels like to be a different kind of kid. The kind of kid willing to risk life for country.
So many people ask, why would he ever commit to going to this type of an institution?
It's scary as a parent. It's something I think every parent thinks about. But you're proud of them on the other hand, you know?
They're actually giving up a lot of themselves to support and protect everyone else.
How many people can say that that's what their kid decides to do?
It's in his heart, and it has to be in your heart to defend the country.
You can expect to be challenged academically, physically, morally. Your summers basically don't exist.
You miss out on the kids' holidays.
It's not going to be an easy journey.
You have your academics, you have your military duty, and you have football.
Yes, it is just a game, but a game that epitomizes everything they're here for.
It's the only game that everyone's playing in it. They're willing to die for everyone who's watching it.
Since 1890, the Army-Navy game has embodied the timeless commitment of a group of young men and women to the nation and the ideals that both academies serve. War heroes, presidents, and Heisman winners have all graced this stage. Enemies for one day, who know their calling will unite them when they leave the field. Just as their stories do, wherever in America they began.
Edify, New Jersey.
Chicago, Illinois.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Our son is Jackson Pittman.
James Nautical, number 19.
Johnny Trainer.
Number 6.
Andrew Wood, number 61.
Go Navy.
Lead Army.
Fort Atkinson is cheering for
Come on, Park, you got this.
Back to back. We can do this. Kick some butt.
Go Army. Lead Navy.
It's the library.
Never forget how it all starts for them. Never forget what it takes to decide as a kid that your life is going to be about more than just yourself.
You're a mother, you're always gonna worry.
That's her first one. She carried him around for 40 weeks.
They would do whatever it took to protect our country. It's tough.
Once he decided and thought that this was right for him, I supported him 100%.
He knew it was the place for him, so I really just tried to embrace that.
I'm not going to be selfish. That's the unselfish thing for your kids. You let them go. You gotta let them go.
From the very beginning, it's always started the same way. Across generations, across eras. They've gotten word that they've been chosen to sacrifice, to dedicate, to serve. And they've headed off to West Point and Annapolis. It takes a certain kind of kid to commit to these institutions. Now today in a football game, celebrate the courage of every man and woman to ever make that commitment. For the 118th time, this is Army-Navy.
Okay. You have to, obviously you have to know your audience. So that's for an American audience. They love that stuff.
I don't know, is it only me because of the pregnancy, but this was really emotional.
So, well, first thing I said was emotional investment, right? So if you're an American and you want to watch sports, you want to watch sports, you can watch a lot of great sports, but this has an emotional investment involved. This has you caring, or at least I hope it has you caring if you're watching. So that's the biggest thing is, and the interesting thing, and this is the theme of a few things I'm going to talk about today, that was selling you on a football game. That was 4 minutes long. There was about 15 seconds of football in that spot. So we're selling you on something that we're not even selling you on. We're making you care about something, and then, oh, by the way, here you go. Where traditionally it's, here's our beer, buy our beer, drink our beer. Here's our car, buy our car. Look how fast it is. The trend now is to make people care first, entertain them, and then get your message across. And I'm going to show some examples from the marketing world, from the advertising world, where people are no longer smacking you in the face with their product. They're telling stories to get you in, and then, oh, by the way, this is who we are. So I'm in sports, as I mentioned, primarily. That's what we call a tease, a traditional sports tease. They've been going on forever. The trend in the last 20 years has been get a big celebrity, put them in front of a camera. Celebrity talks to the camera, to the viewer, and tells them why they should watch this game. It's been going on. Big celebrities, I've shot with so many celebrities, and they will do it. A lot of times you reach out to the agents, they don't even ask for money. They just want to do it because they're sports fans, and they've been watching it since they were kids, and they think it's cool to do it. So I'm going to show a real quick montage. These are a bunch of different teases cut together to give you a sense of what a traditional sports tease is, and you'll see the difference between what you just saw, which was a tease essentially, and what is more traditional. So you guys can roll the traditional ones.
When you run as a team, anything is possible.
And that's why
we're headed to Vegas.
With these two franchises, what makes it real, what makes it matter is the hate.
It doesn't matter what anyone says, what anyone thinks. What matters is what you do between the lines.
So now here we are again. End of the road, right? Over 300 Division I teams, almost 5,000 players. Any one of them would have given anything to still be playing tonight.
And every player on that field has the opportunity to seize it. That's not an opinion. That is a message straight from me. The jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, championship Sunday, test the limits of your soul. Leave it all on the line for the Super Bowl.
So those are fun to do. It's fun to shoot with The Rock. It's quick, it's easy. He wants to do it, he wants to be there. Here's the problem. So a few months ago, we have a game coming up. It's not the Super Bowl, which is 120 million viewers. It's the game that decides who goes to the Super Bowl. It's only 60 million viewers. It's the second most watched program in America. Again, it's not the Super Bowl, but it's pretty up there. So I have to do the open for the game. I have to do promotion for the game. So I've been wanting to work with John Malkovich for the longest time, and for whatever reason, I finally decided, you know what, let me reach out. Reached out. I didn't think he'd be into it. Didn't seem like he'd be like the sports type. Got an immediate answer from his agent. Wants to do it. Send us a script tomorrow, and off we go. So I didn't expect that. So now I've got John Malkovich. I'm working on a script at home. Basically what you saw just there. John Malkovich telling the camera, telling the audience, this is why you should watch that game. And we're working on a script, I'm writing the script, and I'm just, the whole time I'm working on the script, I'm thinking, he's gonna fucking hate this. Because John Malkovich, he's not The Rock. He's not the type of person that's gonna scream at a camera and tell you, watch this game. His intensity is a different kind of intensity. He's more of an artist, he's more of a cerebral thinker, he's just a different kind of guy. So here I am writing this script that would be written for The Rock, for John Malkovich, and the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, he's gonna hate this, he's gonna hate this, he's gonna hate this, he's gonna call me, he's gonna say, this isn't right for me, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'm panicked. And then for whatever reason, I think it's probably the third or fourth glass of red wine, I'm sitting at home, I have an idea, and I think, all right, he's unique, let's tell the story of the game with John Malkovich in a unique way. It was a huge risk because we could have gone into this shoot and it could have fallen flat. Thankfully, I don't think it did based on the reaction. But I sent him the script. I said, listen, I'm kind of thinking of something a little bit different, a little something outside the box. If you're cool with this, I got an email back, cool, see you Tuesday. Like, all right, here we go. So this is the spot that has won, I think, something like 17 awards in the past few months, and I'm pretty proud of. So this is the John Malkovich spot.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, did you read the script?
Yeah, I did read the script. Did you read the script? A championship gala of assiduous, a matchup of men resplendent in physical acuity. It's utterly overwrought. Grady, the immortal gladiator.
No emotion.
I mean, it's melodramatic.
Wardle's a fearless feline.
Plethora of potential. It's absurd.
Resplendent.
Assiduous combat. And it's 15 pages long. Theatrically pellucid. I thought you said it was a simple 2-minute spot for the AFC Championship. Somebody's got to put the thesaurus down.
John, just go talk to the director. It's gonna be fine.
Oh, go talk to the director. That's an astonishingly original idea. Why didn't I think of that? Thank goodness I have an agent. Excuse me, are you directing this commercial?
Oh, yes, I am. Mr. Malkovich, good to meet you. It's not a commercial, though. We call it a tease.
A tease?
Tease. Yeah, we like to tease the viewers with a big production so they tune into the game.
But if they see this, aren't they already watching? I mean, so what are we teasing?
That's a good question.
Isn't it, though?
I guess it's just the terminology we use. I don't know. It's sports television.
Sports television?
Yeah.
Okay.
Different than what you're used to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Listen, I want to talk to you about the script because there are things in here I don't think people say the furtive genius of Foxborough.
Yeah, football fans eat it up, though. They love it.
I'm not sure this is right for me. Couldn't you just get Jim Nance to narrate over some footage of...
We did try to get Nance, yeah.
But it wasn't really in his contract, so...
He's got a strict contract.
Yeah. And I mean, an orchestra?
We got the budget for it. We thought, why not? It's not my money.
Is that really necessary?
Wait until you hear them play, okay? Hey, Helmet, would you play Mr. Malkovich a song, please? Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Okay, from the top then. 2, 3, 4.
No, it's just I think you've overcomplicated this story. I mean, this is one of the simplest, oldest stories there is. This is an ancient story from olden times, okay?
It is the story of David versus Goliath.
Okay, well, maybe that was a little much, but it's not that much.
The story of the mighty giant against the tiny underdog. The story of the overwhelming favorite against the long shot with absolutely no chance.
But the point is,
what does football teach us?
Anything in the world can happen on that field. Anything.
You always have a chance. We absolutely know it in our bones. Look at what Bortles, Fournette, and the Jaguars did only last weekend. You say yes, but now it's against the Patriots. It's different.
You are fighting a giant.
They don't have one Goliath, they are 2 Goliaths. Brady, Belichick, relentlessly. The machine stomps on.
That's where I'm thinking you should cut in the NFL footage.
Fournette goes airborne. Trying to deliver and score. Jacksonville is pouring it on. Look at that play.
This is the NFL's David.
Incredible.
Versus the NFL's Goliath.
Sheer domination continues.
For the right to play in the Super Bowl. It's that simple.
I mean, that's what I would have said. You know, otherwise it's too complicated.
Please tell me you were rolling on that.
You never said action, so...
Thank you. The biggest thing about that, well, first of all, that was a lot of fun to do. A lot of little things about the shoot. We only had 4 hours with him, literally from the minute he walked in to the minute he walked out. We agreed to 4 hours. That includes makeup, pre-production. So it was It was scary because you never know what's going to happen. Things could go wrong, the script might not work, but he was incredibly professional. It was the perfect storm of good things happening. The actors we hired were good. He was great. The musicians were fantastic. There's a whole crew. And then obviously we won some awards. This is at the Clios. This is at the New York Festival Awards. And then I think we even have a clip. So yeah.
And the Emmy goes to AFC Championship, Teasing John Malkovich, CBS.
So here's the thing, right? So this is all cool and this is all fun and this is really exciting to do stuff like this. But what I point to in my career and the reason stuff like this happens and is because I've been willing to take chances. And I want to just tell a real quick story, which is funny because this is called Tell Me a Story. About 13 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was relatively new at CBS. And it was before the Super Bowl. I had never won an award. I wasn't, I didn't have any kind of resume. And it was 2 months before the Super Bowl. And before the Super Bowl, we have a 4-hour pregame show. So there's a lot of time to fill. So they assign short feature stories to producers. I'm one of 8 producers that's assigned a story to tell for the 4-hour pregame show. I'm assigned the worst one. I know it was the worst one. And they didn't know who I was. They didn't know what I could do. So what they assigned me was a story to tell the story of 2 brothers that play professional football, the Mathews Brothers. Basically, one of them played for 15 years. The other one played for 16 years. They never missed a game. It's the most brutal sport. Every single game they played, they were Iron Men. That was the piece they wanted, Iron Men. Problem is, they played the most boring position. They didn't run with the ball. They didn't throw the ball. They didn't catch the ball. All they did was block. For 15 years, they just did this. The other problem was their personalities were more boring than their position. So now I've got to tell a 5-6 minute story about the Mathews Brothers who basically played for 15 years without ever being hurt. Great, good job, but what's the story? And now I'm freaked out because it's the first Super Bowl I'm doing with them, so I don't know what I'm going to do. So I do a little research. I find out the father was this boxer. He was a boxing champion. He was a rower in the Olympics, and then he became a professional football player. Then he became a professional baseball player when he was bored with football. So it was like, all right, cool. They have a father that did some stuff. So I reached out. He's almost 70 years old. He's telling me stories about when they were younger. If they wanted to quit, he would never let them quit. Okay, we've got a little something now. The dad's kind of part of the story. I tell him, I'm going to come down to South Carolina, interview you, if you don't mind. I'm going to interview your 2 sons in the next couple of weeks. He says, great, see you in a couple of weeks after you're done with them. Hey, he tells me right before I hang up, make sure when you see Clay and Bruce, make sure you ask them about the real champions in the family, the Mathews Brothers, the Olympians, the ones that are actually the Iron Men of the family. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm not following. He says, they have 2 brothers who I've been caring for. His wife died when the kids were very young, and Bruce and Clay have 2 brothers who, this story had never been told, I didn't read it anywhere, who were born mentally and physically handicapped. And the father, from the time they were born, has cared for them literally every single day of their lives. And they are now in their 30s. The father bought a bowling alley so that the sons could have something to do. When they were younger, they won multiple Special Olympics gold medals, and they were always athletes, and they always overcame their obstacles. And I'm listening to him talk, and I'm like, my God, this is unbelievable. But here's my problem. They asked me to do a story about 2 football players for the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday, which is about football. So if I go to the executive producer and I say, listen, I know what you want, but there's this other story, he's going to say, listen, just do the 2 football players. People want to watch football. So that's my dilemma now. And I just said, fuck it, excuse my language, but fuck it. I'm going to go with my instinct on this one, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, at least I tried. I did it my way. So I did the story, and I was supposed to be in the first hour. The 4-hour show, the closer it gets to the game, the 4th hour has a lot of viewers, so they saved the best pieces for there. Mine was the last piece shown that day. The next day, it was written about in a lot of newspapers, and which is really cool. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it was the first time I was ever nominated for an Emmy. It didn't win, but it was nominated for an Emmy. But it was, for me, it was like, all right, that was my sign. Like, find good stories, tell them, even if it's outside the box, even if it's not what people expect. So pivoting now to business, stories are impactful. Stories make you care. Stories will bring your attention to eventually the product that people are trying to sell. So this is now the trend. I'm going to get away from my stuff for a second, talk a little bit about business. So last year at the Super Bowl, Budweiser, which is the #1 beer in America, I don't know why, but it is the #1 beer in America, Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser, everyone knows what Budweiser is. They spend millions and millions of dollars of advertising every year. Last year, during the Trump era, where immigration and building walls and all this stuff is a controversy, Budweiser decided during the Super Bowl they're going to run a 1-minute spot. And the 1-minute spot wasn't, here's our beer, try our beer. Here's our beer, we're the best beer. What they decided to do was make a statement. The commercial, 1-minute commercial has absolutely, you'll see, has nothing to do with beer or selling you on their beer. They decided instead to tell a story about their company. They spent $5 million for the 30 seconds. They probably spent $2 million in production, and they felt it was worth it to tell their story. So I'm going to let the commercial roll real quick.
You don't look like you're from around here.
Warum bist du aus Deutschland?
I want to brew a beer.
Welcome to America. You don't want it here. Go back home. Abandon ship.
Welcome to St. Louis, son.
Next time, this is the beer we'll raise.
Eberhard Anheuser.
Dolphus Busch.
So what happened after this spot, one, I'd heard of Anheuser-Busch my whole life. I had no idea what their history was. For the rest of my life, when I hear Anheuser-Busch, I'm going to think about that spot. So now I have an identity with their brand. But what also happened is because they took a chance, the next day after the Super Bowl, the next morning, is usually a lot of talk on all the news programs, morning shows, which was the best commercial. This dominated every single newscast, every single morning show. They talked about this spot. They got millions and millions of dollars of free promotion the next day because they were willing to get their message out there. And I think the other thing that they've done is they've told a story. And here's the thing that really is changing a lot, at least, I don't know here, I don't watch when I'm here that much television, but at least by us, what's changing is that corporations are realizing that people are getting away from 30-second commercials. They're getting Netflix. They're spending money to avoid advertising. People don't want their entertainment interrupted by advertising. So advertising has to become entertainment, period. The days of here's this, here's that, that has a little bit of an effect, but overall, this is the direction everyone's going in. Again, I love it, and it's back to basics. So there's a few examples that I want to show. P&G is a company that makes health, a huge corporation in America. They were launching a men's healthcare product, skincare. They were launching, it was for just shampoo, just stuff for men. And what they decided to do was launch it on Father's Day, and they launched this campaign digitally. It wasn't on air on traditional television. It was just, they put this out digitally, and again, I thought this was incredibly effective. I thought it was incredibly clever. So if you guys want to, if you can go, I think I'm watching here, to Anthony, if you guys can go to the dad spot and roll that.
Daddy? Dada? Daddy?
Dad?
Dad?
Dad. Dad.
What I like about that spot, I think it's, first of all, from a creative standpoint, I'm jealous when I see stuff like that. It drives me crazy that I didn't think of something like that. One word, dad, daddy, in a spot, and that's it. And everyone can relate to it. It's relatable, you're emotionally invested. It makes you want to see more. You can identify with it, whether you're a father or whether you're not, whatever it is. So that was really brilliant. Then they had, so that was launching a men's care line. And then they also launched a line for African Americans, United States, who I'm sure you read the news and there's a lot of controversy still to this day. Again, thanks to our brilliant president. There's a lot of controversy and a lot of sort of issues that have been going on for a long time, incredibly, are still going on in the African American community. They launched the same thing, products, beauty products for that demographic. And here's the spot that they ran digitally only for that product.
I need it, really. It was also emotionally, but tell me, we are watching, okay.
Who said that?
The lady at the store.
That is not a compliment.
Listen, it's an ugly, nasty word, and you are going to hear it. Nothing I can do about that. But you are not going to let that word hurt you. You hear me? There are some people who think you don't deserve the same privileges just because of what you look like. It's not fair. It's not. Remember, you can do anything they can. Difference is you gotta work twice as hard and be twice as smart.
Come straight home after practice. You got your ID? Yeah. Guess I stopped you.
How's your review?
We're good.
You good?
Yeah,
You see?
we're good.
Okay, good. Now, when you get pulled over,
I'm a good driver. Okay?
baby,
Don't worry.
this is not about you getting a ticket. This is about you not coming home.
I'm gonna be okay. Right? Okay, baby.
It's not fair. But you keep showing up.
You are not pretty for a black girl. You are beautiful, period. Okay? Don't ever forget that.
All right, so
Does anybody else need a handkerchief? It's only me.
It's all emotional, and it makes you care again. But the thing that the reason I wanted to show those two spots, the thing that really blows me away when you watch those is there's zero product placement. Those are ads for a product. There's not one single bottle of shampoo. There's not one single healthcare product. There's nothing. And I guarantee you, when the first cut came back to P&G headquarters, and they were in that meeting, and all the executives were there, I guarantee you someone said, what the hell are we doing? Why are we spending all this money? We're not even showing our product. But congratulations to them, because if they did that, it wouldn't be a story anymore, it would be a commercial. And people are smart. They know what commercials are. They know when they're trying to sell you. So if you're going to smack them in the face with, as the father's doing his thing, here's a bottle of shampoo that we have. As the woman's talking to her daughter, here's another thing that we have. People know. So through storytelling, which is what they've done here, they've decided that they're going to bring you in, and it's not about, here's our product, it's about who we are, what we believe in. We believe in you, we feel that what you do is important, we hear you, and we are you. So that's what I think is really impressive. And here's the thing about storytelling too, which is interesting, and I don't know if you guys have it, doesn't matter, Anthony, about the Marriott stuff, but corporations are now, they're doing films. It's no longer Universal Films. It's no longer, you don't have to be Universal Films to have films. Ford is doing short film series online. Marriott is doing online series. Basically, you can go online and you could see that these companies are investing money, a lot of money, in telling stories that have absolutely, virtually nothing to do with their product. Eventually, you find out about their product. But this is a trend that is just continuing to become more and more prominent. I'm going to move real quickly to the next thing that I really like about storytelling, and this is with the John Malkovich thing. I know you sometimes use celebrities, but the trend also, there's also what I love to do is I love to tell story about people that you don't know, non-celebrities. And the other thing about advertising, entertaining, people don't want their entertainment interrupted by advertising. The other reason people know, everyone's creating content now. You can't fool people anymore, and it's going to become more and more like that. If you have a cell phone, if you have a laptop, you can create content, and you can create pretty good content. So this is an example of someone that wanted to tell his story. He had a goal, he had a vision, he was a record executive, successful, but his life was going to shit. He was unhappy, and he decided one day to shoot a commercial. I don't even want to call it a commercial. Shoot a short film about his life, and put it on YouTube. And the message was, "Hey Nike, I want to be part of you. I want to be in one of your commercials. Here's my story." So this was on YouTube. A guy that just did it on his own, put it up on YouTube a few months ago, and it ended up being viral right away. So if you could roll that clip real quick, it's a short one.
I pretty much had everything you can imagine in life. $1 million businesses, world tours, #1 albums. We even won a Grammy. And one day, I cracked. I became over 300 pounds. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. When you're broken, all you have left is your truth. I left my company, my friends, my city. I reinvented my entire life. I will be an athlete. My story isn't over yet.
So, told his own story. That was the backstory of that. One day shoot, he got his friends together. He had a friend that had a camera, knew how to shoot. He had a friend that knew how to edit a little bit. He wanted it, so you know where this is going. 2 weeks ago, Nike debuted a commercial for the 20th anniversary of Just Do It campaign. And here's a little part of that here's a little part of that commercial.
Don't try to be the fastest runner in your school or the fastest in the world. Be the fastest ever. Lose 120 pounds and become an Ironman after beating a brain tumor. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
So his goal was to, it's crazy. It's crazy, but his goal was to be in a Nike commercial, put that story out about himself. It was effectively told, it was well told, it made people care. Nike found out about it. Within months, he's in a Nike commercial. So that's kind of what attracts me to stories like this, is because I've been dealing with big-time celebrity athletes and big-time celebrity Hollywood types for a long time, and it's difficult dealing with agents, and that's why I love telling stories like this. So I was in Sarajevo a few weeks ago. We showed a film that I did for Facebook called Something in the Water, and I had first time in Sarajevo, I had an unbelievably good time. I enjoyed the city, I enjoyed the festival, and I told myself I want to come back. So and I had a film there, but I need a reason to go back. So I figured, let me find a story in Bosnia, in Bosnia, that I can tell in the next few months, so that next year I can submit it and go back next year. So I did a little research, and I found the story of a kid. It's been done, the story's been told a little bit in news there, but you could roll the B-roll of it. And Ismail Sulfic, I found a story about this boy that was born with no arms and basically was afraid of the water, so his parents from Zenica brought him to Sarajevo to teach him how to swim. Not only did he learn how to swim, But he's now 7 years old, and he's been competing all over Europe competitively and winning swimming meets. And he's an inspiration. You have to see more of his story. But basically, I reached out to the family. I introduced myself. I said, listen, I know you guys have done some news stories, but this is who I am. This is what I do. I'd love to come to you one day, and spend some time with you guys and tell your son's story. They, of course, they love to hear it, and we're going to go ahead and do that. But here's the interesting thing. In the research of doing this presentation and finding those spots that I already showed, I came across a spot that blew me away. I just saw this the other day, and I put it on top. I put it at the end of this presentation because it was just the coincidence was insane. So I'm going to roll this spot and then explain why I showed it.
I've been chasing a road to glory, driven since I was a child. They tell you life is a game, but it ain't a game to me. The lights are calling my name. Yeah, I got the energy to put it all on the line. If you knock me down, I'll get up again. I'll get up again. If you knock me down, I'll get up again. I'll get up again.
Up next, Laura Wollstonecraft.
When we're free to move, anything is possible.
So that's for a car company. So it made me think, there's a story about this little boy in Zenica, right? I'm sure there's companies all over the former Yugoslavia and Bosnia that are looking to hire Jeko and spend a lot of money to promote their product and endorse their product. But there are stories like this little boy everywhere that can be told in a very effective way in every country in Europe, in every country in the world. You just have to find them and be willing to tell them and be willing to trust that the audience, that the consumer, that the viewers are going to be invested in that story and care. And as a result, they will care, in theory, in your business. That, again, was a commercial for a car. That spot had nothing to do with cars, but you watched it. If it was a car commercial, you'd be all looking at your phones during the entire time the car commercial was on. And that's the difference. So with powerful storytelling, we're out of time. I'm going to say a couple things. With powerful storytelling, in my mind, it's where everything is going. In my mind, it's the most effective way to get people's attention. In my mind, it's the best way to basically present yourself, show who you are as a brand, show who you are as a journalist, show who you are as whatever it is that you do. A couple of things. We ran out of time. The Something in the Water documentary that I did for Facebook, first of all, I don't know if Mia is here, Mia Pecina, who's from Zagreb, and a producer I've worked with for years, did a lot of that story. I used shooters from Zagreb. A lot of local people worked on that documentary. It got 2 million views within a couple of days. I don't even know where it is in views right now. Facebook loved it. It's about the former Yugoslavia, the basketball players of this region. 16 players from the former Yugoslavia in the NBA, 20 million people combined. Italy has 60 million people. They have 2 NBA players. So what is it in the water? Something in the water. So there's a radionica. There's a workshop later, I think at 4:30 with Anthony, my editor from America that I've worked with for years. All the stuff that you saw, the Malkovich thing, we worked on together. He has a workshop later on, and I'm going to be the moderator. I'll moderate the workshop. And what the workshop is going to be, this was sort of big picture, just talking about why storytelling is important and how it can work. That's a little bit more in the kitchen. We're going to talk about how you find a good, or Anthony's going to talk about how you find a good story. How do you identify a good story? How do you tell a good story? What are the different ways you can do it? When you come across a roadblock, how do you figure out a way? So Anthony Cortese, again, I think it's 2 rooms over. If you're interested in hearing more about stuff like this, and he's going to show Something in the Water, the documentary about basketball from the region, in that spot. And also he's going to break down the Malkovich piece to explain why we think it worked and so on. So basically, that's it.
Do you want to show 40 seconds of that?
If we have time.
We have 40 seconds. That's
Okay.
definitely-
Sure. Do you want to cue up the beginning of the Facebook piece?
Yeah.
And just roll it if you're ready, Anthony.
Right away when I took the ball in my hands, I was like, I want to play in the NBA. You know, I was obsessed with the NBA when I was like 10, 11, 12.
Tell us a little bit about your journey.
I'm John Musa. I'm from Bosnia, Herzegovina. Can I get it again? In USA, they don't even know where's Bosnia. They told me like, is that near Latvia? Is that near Russia? No, come on, bro. They're really wrong.
Dusan, come on.
Can I come in?
Is it Dusan or Dusan?
John, but just John.
John.
Yes.
John Musa. All right, we'll take a seat.
How's this experience so far? The interviews with the NBA teams and everything?
It's different. I want to make sure that people from the NBA knows who I am from talking to me, not just seeing me like on a court.
Any crazy questions?
No.
We're gonna test you.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
And how'd you start playing basketball? Tell us about that.
I started playing basketball when I was 7, and then at the age of 11, I went to Sarajevo to live by myself, and from there I went to Zagreb, where I'm playing now.
By yourself at 11? Who cooked for you? Come on, man. Who'd
Come
you
on.
live with?
No one. Just me. I live by myself. I take care of my laundry, my food, my everything. So it's been a sacrifice.
It's been worth it?
Yeah, of course. Because of basketball, I do anything. Yes. I think that this opportunity is like the goal of every kid, but I really gave my everything to basketball, and I think that I deserve this.
Okay, so basically, the story is real quick. It's threefold, and I'm going to tell a 30-second story about that project, which relates to what we just talked about, or what I just talked about earlier. I sold them on the history of the region and the fact that there's a lot of success here, a story that hasn't been told. Once Brothers did something on Divac and Petrovic, but that was really about them. The story about the region and why it's so successful in sports and in basketball had never been told. So that was one. 2, in this coming draft, Luka Doncic, whom a lot of you have heard of from Slovenia, superstar player, was going to be in a draft. We were going to feature him. And then 3, when I mentioned John Musa, they all said, who the hell is that? And I said, I promise you, he's good, he's worth it. So as we move forward with the project, we realized that, God bless Luka Doncic, great player, his story is nowhere near as interesting as Jonan's. So here we were with Facebook, and I had to tell them after a couple of weeks of shooting, just to give you a heads up, I know you guys were excited about Luka Doncic, but this is really going to be a story about a kid you never heard of, John Musa. And if this was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'm sure they would have said, listen, that's great, but just give us what we asked for. I said to them, you just have to trust me on this. And thankfully, like I said, you earned some, some credibility along the way, and they said, fine, if you really believe that. And we really focused the story on John. When he was 11, 12 years old, he moved to Sarajevo to play basketball. He literally lived by himself in an apartment. He cooked for himself, he walked to training, he walked to school by himself. His parents would come visit him once in a while. His father was a military Vojna Lica in Bihać. His mother lost 2 daughters during the war. His story goes on and on. So we featured him primarily. Again, later on today, we're going to really get a little bit more in depth how we tell stories and why we make the decisions that we do. But we just wanted to show a little taste of that. But again, thank you very much. That's the certificate.
Thank you, Pete. Unfortunately, we don't have time for Q&As, but as you told, you can come to workshop and talk with Pete.
If you have any questions, just come to if you have any questions, first of all, I'm around. Secondly, you can come to the workshop and then you can ask there as well. So we'll be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Vidimo se kasnije, Bog.